morning, everybody. Got an easy one today. We're going to do an oil change and tire rotation on the S10 4.3 liter V6. Should be pretty well straightforward. 4.5 quarts of 5W30 oil filter. Going to get the truck in here up on jack stands in the front. Going to pull the front tires, crisscross them, swap them to the back. The back tires go straight up to the fronts. And one nice thing with the rear tire or the front tires off, it's easy to get access to all the ball joints and grease joints, get them all greased up. And it should be good to go for another 3,000 or 4,000 miles. Stay tuned. Alright, as you can see, I got the front end jacked up. It's on jack stands under the frame. First thing we got to do is we got to move the center cover off. They are just plastic nuts and not on there very tight. They're 19 millimeter or 3/4, whichever you have. I have an electric impact. You don't really need it. You can do it with hand tools. This just makes it a little bit quicker. And that exposes our lug nuts. 5 lug nuts, same size, 19 millimeter. If you don't have an impact, you're probably going to want to break these loose before you jack it up, just so the weight holds it down. But we're going to get this off. Left front wheel will go to the right rear. Right front wheel goes to the left rear to left front, and right rear to right front. Now we'll do the same thing to the other side, and we'll come back when I have that all done. Wheels are off. I always loosen up the fill cap. I'm sure it's probably not necessary. Just one of those things I've always done. These engines aren't sealed up that tight that it would affect the flow. On this truck, the oil drain is a 15 millimeter. It is right there. As you can see, so I got the drain pan set. Catch it all, the oil filter is on the same side right above it. I'll show you a little trick to do to try to keep oil from spilling down all over your hands. And we'll get this thing loosened up and get the oil draining. I also highly recommend using either a 6-point socket like I got here, or a 6-point box end wrench so you don't round the drain plug off. Then it becomes a pain. You got to get the vice grips out. So this is just a 6-point. I already have it broke loose, so it should be nice and loose. We'll get up there. I do have the engine just slightly warm, just so it helps the flow come out. And get the drain pan situated here. And we'll let that drain. Now while that's draining, now will be a good time to start greasing the ball joints. This old truck has a bunch. We got a ball joint upper and lower. We've got tie rod. We got drag link. We got pitman arm. We've got idler arm. So there's a ton of grease joints. Without taking the front tires off, it's a little difficult to get to that upper ball joint. So now's a good chance to make sure we have plenty of grease in it. Also a good time to inspect your brake pads. I just changed these not too long ago, so they're plenty thick. Everything's looking good. Let's go grab the grease gun and get that changed. Alright, as you can see, we've got the top ball joint and the grease fitting. This is just a Harbor Freight grease gun. Nothing special. Push it down on the grease fitting. Give it about 3-4 pumps. And that is all that needs. Alright, we got the tie rod. Grease fitting is at the bottom. Get it clipped on there. Give it a few pumps. You'll see it start to squeeze out at its full. Now I'm going to go through and do the lower ball joint and all the rest of these while the oil is draining. No need to really watch that, kind of boring. We'll come back when the oil's draining, we'll get the oil filter off. As you can see, the oil's pretty much done draining. And the oil filter is a vertical oil filter. It is right there. So when you go to take that off, oil is going to run all down your arm and make a mess. There is a little trick. First thing you want to do is just get it loose by hand, and then take a plastic cup, put it over the oil filter, and unscrew it the rest of the way. Oil filter is just hand tight. Take my plastic cup, put it over the oil filter so we can get a focus here. And we're going to unscrew it, and the oil should mostly run down in the cup. And it did. That actually worked really, really well. And then we simply just, one thing to make sure the old O-ring is not stuck on the block. Because if it's stuck on the block and you put a new filter on, it is going to, there's the old O-ring, it is going to dump out as soon as you fire the engine. Okay, there's fresh oil on the O-ring of the new oil filter, screwed up in there. It's just hand tight. Drain plug is in. I'm sure there's a torque spec for that. I just pull it tight. I don't go crazy tight. You don't need to strip it out. As long as it's just called a normal tight, it's not going to come loose. Everything's tightened underneath. We're ready to fill it up. There's a funnel in the fill spout, just so I don't make a mess. This truck takes 4.5 quarts of 5W30. I just went to Walmart, got their SuperTech 5W30. 5-gallon jug. I think it was about $19. One thing, make sure they all have a seal on it. Make sure you remove the seal the whole way. You don't need a piece of aluminum foil dripping down in there. So we're going to put just about all this in, and then we'll start it up, check for leaks, and check the oil level. That appears just to be about 4.5 quarts. Also, make sure when you put your funnel in, make sure your funnel's clean. You don't want to have a dirty funnel and pour clean oil down inside your engine. Alright, oil fill cap's back on. Let's go start it, get oil pressure, and check for leaks. Let's get it started up. We'll watch the oil pressure build up and let it run for a minute, shut it down, make sure nothing's leaking. We're going to be good to go with the oil change, and we'll finish rotating the tires. Oil pressure yet, and there we go. So we got almost 40 pounds cold. That's about where this thing will run, and we'll go check for leaks. So everything looks good under the truck. Don't see any leaks. Check the oil. It's right at the full mark. So I have about 1/2 quart of oil left over, which is handy to have. You know, this thing's an old truck. It uses a tiny bit of oil now and then. We'll keep that for when it runs a little bit low. But as you can see, on most cars, doing an oil change is pretty simple. You can save yourself a lot of money. It's not unusual to have, you take it to a place, they're going to probably charge you $100 to do an oil change. Back to finishing the tire rotation. You want to take the left rear off, go to the right to the left front, and the tire from the right front is going on the left rear. Now you could do it the other way, where you put the front straight to the back and crisscross the back to the front. It doesn't matter as long as you do them the same way every time. The idea is you want the tires to be on different wheels so the wear pattern will stay even. Now would also be a good time to check your rear brakes. These are actually getting close, so I'm not going to bother pulling the drum off. So one of my next projects is we are going to be changing the rear brake shoes, wheel cylinders, and do a complete flush on the brake fluid. We'll get on that as soon as it's not 100 degrees down here in Florida. We get a nice cool morning, we'll work on that. And I want to run these in lightly with the impact, but they're not going to be tight by any means. And when I get everything all back on the ground, we'll go through and torque all the lug nuts down. We are back down on the ground. I have the emergency brake on so it doesn't roll. All these lug nuts get torqued to 100 foot-pounds. I highly recommend you having a torque wrench. I'm just using a Harbor Freight torque wrench. I think it was 20 bucks. Yes, I know they're probably not real accurate, but this is just for a wheel. I'm not building an engine. My son Michael bought me a real nice digital gear wrench, torque wrench. That's what I use for any important work, like on head bolts and things like that. But this one's quick and dirty. You want to go in a star pattern, and after they're all torqued, I always go around one more time in a circle just to make sure I didn't miss any. Tight. Put the center cap back on. And I know I took these off with the impact, but they are just going on by hand because they're just plastic. They don't get very tight. All they're doing is holding this on. I just take my socket extension. You'll feel it click a couple times. Plastic. That's all they need. That finishes up. It's back on the ground. I just put air in the tires. But doing an oil change is something simple. Anyone can do. You just need a few simple tools. Be sure to recycle your oil. Any auto parts store will take your oil for you for free. Have it recycled. And that's about it. Any questions? Ask in the comments. Thanks for watching.